Welcome back. Fantastic. So, guys, we're going to move on to Darren. Darren is the head coach of Eanna Basketball Club. Recently got promoted, well, last season got promoted from National League to Superleague, and then had a fantastic season just gone there with the Superleague. So, Darren's going to talk to us about journey through the National League. Appreciate it. So, Darren, you can go ahead and take it away. Sure, you can go ahead.
Just get my shares.
Yeah, just go ahead when you. Have you got that there?
Should be coming through in a sec. No, nothing there. Oh, here we go. Yeah.
Perfect.
Perfecto. All right. Everyone should be able to see this now in a second. So you can view that in the video, yes. So.
Yeah, that looks good, mate. That looks good.
Perfect. Okay, cool. Look, yeah. So first of all, thanks very much, Nabil and Rend Sports Academy. So he's doing excellent work trying to, get a lot of coaches, a lot of players together in this time. It's a difficult time for us all, trying to stay safe, stay at home, and do all this. So it's a great initiative. It's one of many, which is great. It's something that I've been watching over the last few weeks through Fusion Sports, and then also other ones that's online. So I think as many coaches need to log on, try and find as much information when they can right now. Just want to thank a few people here as well before we start. Just obviously, Rend Sports Academy has given me the opportunity to speak today. Eanna Basketball then as well have given me, obviously a really big platform for me to take over a really good club, and they've given me that opportunity, and I really want to thank them first of all. There's also a number of coaches and players in the background. It's been a long 2 years now with Eanna at National League, Super League level. It's very difficult. It was something that Stephen mentioned earlier on. I wrote it down. I thought it was brilliant. Coaching doesn't clock off. There's no finishing time at 5 o'clock. In this sort of gig. So I thought that was really, really cool, really interesting, because coaches generally spend more time speaking with each other, speaking with players, than they do doing their own day job or doing their own time at home. So I thought it was a really interesting point what he made. So just moving on, just basically a background to myself, where I came from, what I've done, sort of, built up my understanding of basketball. I would have obviously grown up in Monaghan. It's not a very big basketball county, full of very good Gaelic footballers. Monaghan over the years have been known to be the underdogs in football, have done really, really well. So for me, I took up basketball, I think it was in the first year of secondary school. I had an Irish teacher who was 6'5". He was an ex-Irish international at the time, and he made an announcement during Irish class that anyone that wants to come play basketball after school, there's a game the following day and you get the day off school. So of course I went along to that and trying to get the day off school, just like any other young person would at the time. And just kind of all of a sudden, the skills that I had through Gaelic football, it just kind of was transferable really fast. The quick hands, struggled really struggled with the dribbling and the traveling. And then eventually, after a few months, it became a sport that I really began to enjoy. I developed skills really fast. I went on to sort of represent, the school at under 14s level, and then went on to regional levels and stuff in Ulster. And, that was really positive for me. And then, eventually I ended up playing Super League basketball at the age of 16 with Dungannon, which was also Tyrone Towers. They went under two different names at the time. So that was a huge experience for me back in the day. It was probably in around 2000 and, I'm not sure, in around 2002, 2001. Them years, we had a young and youthful Jermaine Turner. A lot of people would know him really well. We also had played in the days when you had two Americans. The league was exceptionally athletic back then as well. It still is to the day. And so like I played with a lot of different clubs, coming through that. So I mentioned Dungannon, also played with Dundalk Ravens in my time in college in DKIT. played with Longford Falcons, as you can see on the screen there, a long time ago. Good friend of mine, Conor Gallagher, and myself used to drive, from Monaghan all the way down to Longford for training 2-3 times a week, back up for games. And also then would have played a little bit of National League, Super League with Swords of Thunder. And then I joined Eanna about 6-7 years ago, just basically as a player. And a couple of years later, I began coaching within the club and took on the under 13s. A really good under 13s team. Funny enough, one of my assistants in the photograph here down in the bottom, Dave Doran, was the head coach of them the year previous, and we got them all the way to a Dublin Cup final against a really, really incredibly strong Temple Oak team that are still, I think, undefeated, if I'm right, since then. So we took on them and had them for 2 years. We travelled to France in an international tournament. We done really, really well. For 2 seasons, and it took over the under 17s a couple of years after that. Had a good time, and then the opportunity came up then to take on the National League squad. But my first introduction to coaching was pretty much with Dundalk IT. I was a player at the time, but in Dundalk, again, very similar to Monaghan. It's not a very big basketball culture around there, so there was a lack of coaches at the time, and I was a player coach, so my first opportunity was with them. And then when I graduated, I stayed on, and I'm still there coaching to the day. So I'm very proud of what we've achieved in Dundalk IT. We went from very rarely ever winning games to being a pretty solid program there. We've had international students, we've had Americans, we've worked our way up to Division 1 level. So we're always there or thereabouts, and that's something I'm very proud of because of the lack of structures of basketball in that sort of area as well. So it's quite good. So yeah, Eanna Basketball has just spoken there about our works there. I've also been involved with Nabil in the National Academies a few years ago. Got great experience from that. Still to the day, use a lot of the concepts from that. It was really cool. That the reason why I joined the academies because I had read the blueprint for what they're trying to teach the kids, trying to teach them how to play first rather than teaching them to play. And that was really, really important, and that's something that I've brought into Eanna. And then just basically my philosophy then of obviously coaching is it's a multitude, it's a mixture. I've played a lot of different teams. I've learned a lot, of my own sort of literature, reading, background to watching, streaming. Obviously anyone that knows me, I watch a lot of basketball. I travel. I'd be in a gym in North Dublin. People going, "What are you doing here?" And goes, "I'm just watching the game." So my philosophy would be that I care for the game of basketball. So I think people that play for me or with me or anything like that know and understand that, and they actually feel a part of something as well because they're involved in something that I care passionately about, and I'm going to treat it with respect. I'm going to treat you with respect, and it's vice versa on that. So yeah, so just to speak about Eanna, I suppose, is the main topic of what we're speaking about. What I'm speaking about today is pretty much I was promoted to head coach. I don't know if promoted is the best word, but I was asked would I be interested a couple of summers ago. I was very apprehensive at the time. I was probably 34. I was willing to play for another few years, or try to, as a lot of people would say. So yeah, so I ended up taking on the role, and it was really, really interesting because at the beginning it was really, really fresh. We had a lot of players leaving because we were relegated from the Super League and are back down to the National League. It was really, really difficult task to try and motivate some players that were returning. Then we had to recruit, the goals in the club and the opinions within the club that were a Super League club. And this was difficult for me because I had played previously in the Super League, played previously in National League, and I was kind of challenged by the plans of the club to continuously want Super League and to be there. But the issue was that we were never sustainable, and we could never cope with the demands and the length of planning, the length of time that it takes to keep the club there is really, really difficult. So there's a lot of opinions to change within the club, a lot of opinions to change with the players. We needed to find some sort of, realistic sort of goal, a realistic target to go forwards. So that was one of the first things I wanted to do when I took over. And our first pretty much meeting with the committee and first meeting with the players was, to set a goal of winning games. And it was never to get promoted in our first year. It was never to go undefeated for 20 something games. It was to win games, and that's it, to get used to it. I still say to the day, I think we should have stayed Division 1 for a couple of seasons to get used to winning. But we were lucky enough, to go back to the recruiting side of things, that we were lucky enough to recruit some really, really fantastic players who gelled and fitted exactly what I would have seen for the club. So that's sort of, made us go forward, really, really fast. And obviously we did do really well in the National League in the first season and we got promoted. But lo and behold, there's a lot of reasons for that. And into these, these topics in the presentation I'm going to deliver today is pretty much around spacing and how we look to space the floor. Everything I run is based around space. If we're not spacing well, any coach will tell you straight away if its spacing isn't correct, your offense is going to break down. It's not going to allow you then to play during the breakdowns, which I'm also going to speak about. Is what I really wanted to do is give a lot more power to the players, trying to, allow them to make decisions for themselves. So there's a little topic around decision making. Transition offense is a love of mine. I love getting out and going, up the floor as quickly as possible. So there's a few things of what we do to work on transition offense and what I like to get from it. Small-sided games is probably the highlight of what we do in sort of in our Superleague sessions, in trainings. So we'll speak about a couple of games there that might be useful for people to have. Again, speaking about competition within practice and training, I think it's vital for any level, from your under 10s all the way up to senior level. If you don't have a level of competition within practice, within your trainings, you're going to lose your players. It's going to be really difficult for them to really work above what you want them to do. And then I'm going to finish off with pretty much a few ideas of what we do in offenses and how we spread the floor. Everything we do is pretty much 4 out, 5 out. So just, I'm going to show a few clips on that, and basically people can maybe, take something from it. And small, quick hitters is what I like. I do like a settled offense at times, but, I like to play quick. I like to get the ball in the basket. I like to play defense, and we like to try and get the ball back so we can play offense again. So yeah, so that's what we're looking at. So I'm sure I'm just going to try and just get my highlighter on here. So we can see here, that's the wrong code. Let me see. Just bear with me 1 second. So we have, this is what I would generally start with our spacing here. So we have our 1 and 2. Doesn't matter if the 2 is here or the 3 is there, or vice versa. It doesn't really matter what way we work it. So we call these 2 positions the slots. We call the wing spots, which is across the free throw line. We call these the wings, and then we have our big, and we also play our big obviously between the 2 spots. He could be playing in the dunker spot. He could be playing in the elbow. He could be playing down low. So this is something I also took, was interesting. We used in the regional academies. We call these the ABCD spots. And so it's something to bear in mind. You can call them whatever you wish, but I always had something when we first had our first training session was back to basics, and I stood in these spots and I walked players into these spots, and I grab a hold of them. He says, no, you're not in the right spot. And I'm taking him from probably half a meter to the correct spot. And it took a long time for players to really hone in on this, that he really wants me to stand here and not there. So we really need to be in the right space and at the right moments, and that's all the time. So we just introduced the 4 out, 1 in sort of motion, sort of offense is what we would call fist. So as what happens is, from this position, he has options. He has the ball, he can pass, screen away, he has the ball, he can dribble handoff. You know, he has the ball, he can drive. Number 4 can fill the spaces and look for that shot. So if he drives middle, okay, player is here, he goes to the corner. Number 5, we're trying to draw the help from the 5-man, he has a dump off. So straight away, when you just play within that system, you're always going to find options, you're always going to find outcomes. So we're trying to figure out, so what does this achieve for us straight away? You know, so if you're playing a 4-out-1 system of any sort, you know, you're going to promote aggressive play. You know, so I want my players to be aggressive. I want my players to penetrate. You know, I want my players to look to penetrate, to drive and try and finish the basket, or I want them to kick the ball for open threes. I want to try and make defenses collapse because of that reason. You know, and then it also gives us multiple options at all times. You know, so I think if we want traditional set plays, you know, you are getting multiple options, but it's only within what you're doing at the time and what the play call is. When we run this sort of set offense, we'll see later on, I have a video of it, anything can happen at any one time. And I've heard a few terms about it. An interesting one I've heard recently was it's like dominoes. So all the pieces are together and they can all, when they all fall together and they work in the right system. So that's what we do a lot in our space. And so I spend a lot of time working on this when we run fist or we run anything. As long as my guys fall back into these positions, I'm happy, you know, with whatever happens. Okay, so going forward on that. So just a little interesting clip here on our spacing. So we can see, to demonstrate this, I'm just going to turn off this pen. Just one moment. Here we go. So as you can see in the spacing here, you know, it's quite clear straight away. We've got the corners being filled. So obviously this is a set play. So the corners need to be filled and they're being sprinted to it. And then next of all, we've got one of our bigs coming up to set this horn screen, coming side to side. And what this creates straight away is really good spacing. You know, we see here, we've got Josh Wilson, he's our point guard at the time. You know, he's being defended by a really, really good defender in Paul Dick. If you space really well, so you've got a 4 corner shooter, and ideally he should be one step down, you know, and Neil Lynch is here, he's in a good position. You know, the strong side defender has to defend the shooter, which leaves this space here for the guard to attack. And it's quite easy. You can see just straight line drive to the basket. You know, it's simple, it's effective, but you don't get that if, oh, apologies. So you don't get that if the player is standing here. You don't get that if this player is standing here, because the help defense is right in the middle. So again, the more space, the more chance we promote aggressive play. All right, another demonstration. This is of fist, is what we run, and is what I was speaking about earlier on. So Josh is running the fist action, handoff, reversal to another handoff. We've got a bit of a hedge, and then we've got ball movement, and then we try to attack the closeout. So as you can see in that there, all our players here have patience. They know they're well spaced. All right. They know that there's a switch here. Okay. They rotate the ball. And basically everyone's looking for the best option. They're being patient. They're moving the basketball. They attack the closeout, and unlucky just to miss the layup. But I thought it was a really good example to show what good spacing looks like. You know, you see everyone's outside the 3-point line. You know, the screens are being set. One man inside, double team, kicks it out. And on that kick out, he could have shot that ball and it would have been an okay shot, but he made that extra pass, you know, which gave us a really, really good line drive to the basket. So that's what we're looking for in spacing all the time. You know, we're always looking for someone to attack the basket. We're always looking for that wide open shot, but it doesn't have to be that person. It's not specific. So we don't run this offense for anyone. You know, we run this offense to try and find a good look for whoever has the best look. So decision making. There's a few things on decision making is really, really important. I think, as you speak, I could be speaking here to coaches of an academy, coaches of under 10s, 12s, 15s, 16s, whatever. It's really, really important as players and coaches that the coaches make good decisions, and the players make good decisions, and it's recognized. Something that I always, scream out a lot during our plays is really good decision, well done. I make sure that the players are aware of good decisions. The issue there is when a player makes a bad decision, the player knows immediately that he or she made a bad decision. And I think the worst thing that we can do then is to really nail that and really let them know that they've made a bad decision. It has its pros and cons, that. So obviously your pros there, that he's aware or she's aware that that's a bad decision, and the con is if they're down on themselves straight away and you're giving them another opportunity to rectify themselves, but you're also on their backs and you're adding more pressure and they're fearful of being dragged out of the game by the coach because they made a mistake, they're going to make another mistake if you put that nervous system down because of that. So us coaches, I believe we must give the players the right to decide what to do at the time. They're on the floor. They're in control of the basketball. Their reading of the game is much quicker because they're involved in it. They're playing against a defender. The defender could be on their hip, ready to attack. The defender could be sagging off them. They're ready to pass and cut, or they're ready to drive and kick. So again, decision making all comes down to the players' right to decide, but it's us as coaches that must give them decision making tools. So within practice, that we give them the drills, we give them the ideas of what to do at the right times, and that all comes down to that. This can be challenging, I think, for a lot of coaches. It was challenging for me throughout the years. I've been coaching probably the guts of 15 years now, and at the beginning, like probably all coaches at the beginning, you have the power, you're handed the whistle, the kids are looking up to you, or the players are looking at you and goes, right, what are we going to do now, coach? So you actually have the power, but it's a challenge to give it up to allow the players to decide. And I think, the more you can do that, the more benefits you're going to get from your players in the long term. They're going to become better players because of that you're giving them then that choice that they can decide. And obviously, again, you don't want your players going off the cuff and saying, oh, well, you let us do this, it's fine. You need to set the boundaries, set the rules, to what's a good shot, to what's a good decision. How you do that is up to you. And we obviously just use, simple drive and kick, dribble, handoff, balance on your shot. If you stick to them rules, that's okay with me. Again, on just decision making, what do I really mean about it? So it's not based around passing, it's not based around shooting, it's based around, a number of other things. So cutting. So one of my pet peeves is players cutting when they don't need to cut. Some coaches would say, yeah, they're cutting, they're making space for others. And then what happens is we tend to have a lot of cutting happening when there's a penetration at the same time. So we're running into each other, or help defense is there. And this is what happens is we've one less player. So if we have a middle, our big guys in the middle, and we have someone inside. Now we have 3 players inside and we only have 2 outside. It's really difficult to find that cut or to find that kick out. So that can be a pet peeve. It's trying to find the right time when to cut. So it's important to instruct the players on that. When is a good time? Ball reversals as well, shows a sign of a really good decision maker on a team. That a player catches, releases that ball as soon as he catches it to get a ball reversal, just to make the defense shift. So that's a sign of a really good decision maker on a team. Players that space the floor really well. So you don't necessarily need to be a 3-point shooter. You don't necessarily need to be, like the best big man in the team to be able to space the floor. So if you're a 3-point shooter and you're standing in the corner and you feel you should be more involved in the offense, that's fine. But what you're doing is you're creating space for everybody else, but you will become involved in the offense. You're there for a reason. Your specific reason is to space the floor for others. So it's not always the same player in the corner. And I try to emphasize that a lot in our practices. Is I tend to see the same players run to the same spots. all the time in order to trying to beat each other to the spot. And that's interesting because the players want to be involved in the offense, but we try and run our offenses where everyone is getting involved. So again, that's important as coaches to notice that players aren't doing the same thing over and over again. Clogging the middle can be the biggest pet peeve of mine. Is a player always stuck in the middle and he won't move. He's there, he's down low, and he's demanding the basketball all the time. He's not doing much for the team. So as a big man, really needs to understand, what can I do to get the basketball? Do I set a flare screen? Do I set a simple little flex screen just to get a player open, which means I'm going to be open, and then again, you're not just standing in the middle and you're being a nuisance, as a lot of big men do at the time. It's good that you're inside and you're blocking all that space up. But as an offensive threat, we don't need that, and I don't like that. That you're in the middle and you're clogging and you're demanding the basketball all at the time. So I like to see our big men getting involved in the offense. Yeah, so transition offense, one of my favorite things. It comes from our defense. Anyone that watches Eanna the last couple of seasons, we love our 2-2-1 zone press. We go back into our 2-3 zone, or we go back into man from that. If you're willing to work really, really hard on your defense, you're going to be willing to run, and makes transition simple. We have a couple of rules. It's nothing major. We try and run in lines. We try not to have more than two people, we don't have any more than one person running the same line. So I want dribble rebounds is really, really important. So if you're confident you get the rebound and you can dribble rebound, I always encourage this. I think there's a good clip coming up later on how that can develop, into really instant transition offense. Obviously, always support the one-man transition. I think transition always starts with one person. So whether that's the person leaking out, whether that's the person rebounding, outletting, whether that's the person rebounding and dribbling out. So we always encourage that there's never just one man in the transition. It must be a 5-man transition. Then you say, what do we use to practice our transition offense? So we use the 11-man practice drill. I think that's universal. A lot of teams use this all around the world. We really enjoy it. We give, just to break it down, let you know what it is. It's a 3v2 drill, but there's 11 people involved in it. So it's always 3v2 into one basket. You've got 2 players on the outlet ready to go the other direction. So whoever gets the rebound will go the other direction, 3v2 again. So is what we would do is our rules, and that a lot of the time would be offensive rebounds. We go straight back up. And whoever gets the ball through the basket. So we must fight for the ball. So it's just encouraging, our players to be physical, to really want to win that basketball, to go and play offense again. Because if you don't win the basketball, you're not involved in the offense going the other direction. We also do a point system on this. We could be playing this for warm-ups. We could be saying it's 1 point for a score, 1 point for an offensive rebound, 1 point for an assist, 1 point for a steal. And then we generally work -2 for a turnover. So it'll be the first player to 6, first player to 10, whatever it is in the practice drill, and we work on that. So it gets a lot of players' touches as well, which is interesting. We use this drill, so I'm just going to click on to it. It's a Michigan State drill. So we use this a lot in pre-season, and then we enjoyed it so much. I think the players got a lot of satisfaction from it. I'm hoping now that you are going to be able to see this when it comes up. I'll just mute this so it's not that, so you can hear me through it. So the ball starts in the middle. So it's a 5-player drill. So is what we use this is you've got 1 minute to get 13 baskets. It's good for communication. It's good just cardio work. Each player has a specific job at the time. So the person that scores the layup must sprint the full court to become the rebounder. And then the person that rebounds outlets it, and he becomes the middleman. And then the middleman reverses the ball, sprints to the spot, and he becomes the outletter. And he stays, and then he will become the next player to cut to the basket. So all players are getting involved. All players are doing the same jobs. And we found this was a good drill just to basically, promote ball movement, promote the transition, to promote running and sprinting. And then this is also really difficult to do in 1 minute. So as you see, the first team here do this just about in 1 minute. It's an interesting drill. You get 5 guys on for 1 minute, another 5 guys on for 1 minute. I noticed on this drill, the players on the sideline aren't doing anything in between, so they could be recovering. Depending on what stages you are in your season, you could be in the middle of the season, so you want to, players could be getting shots up in the side baskets. You could be making them do 30 seconds of strength and conditioning work, using this drill as a warm up. So you can be limits to that. We also have a few rules. If you miss the layup, the drill stops, 5 off, 5 back on. So it promotes that, that you're not missing any layups and you're fully focused on it. Same here as well. You don't cut early for your shot. You're cutting on time. You're catching. Your 1-2 step is up. We also we also use this drill now. We liked it so much, so we ended up using this throughout the season, just as a reminder to ourselves that we should be ready to run, ready to push the ball forward, ready to score it as we can. So I thought this was an interesting clip for you guys to see, going forward. So something maybe you can use with your own teams as well. So that really promoted our transition offense really, really well. Another drill that we use, I don't have a video of this one. I was trying to find something, so maybe someone could find a video. If we can find something, I'll try and post it up. Nabil can get it up later on. It's a progression drill. It's really good for transition offense. So we would start with a 1v2. So the 1 would be at the free throw line, shooting his free throw, and the 2 would be just ready to box. So what happens is the first team to 3. So the 1 shoots it, scores, the 2 take the ball, and they attack 1 going into the opposite basket. So it's a 2v1. And then down at the bottom, the 1 is joined by 2 of his teammates. So it's a 3v2 going back into the next basket. And the same thing happens again. So the 2 then is joined by 2 of his teammates going 4v3. And then you've got a 5v4. And then you finish ultimately in a 5v5. So this can be a quick game. So we're trying to get 3, first team to 3 baskets wins. So the team that's shooting the free throw realistically should be winning this game, because they should have the advantage, should score the free throw, should score on a 3v2, should score in the 5v4. So this doesn't always happen. So generally it does finish in a 5v5. To speed things up, we generally, when we get to 5v5, it's the first team of 5 to score the first basket is the winner. So again, this promotes just trying, quick play, promotes trying to get to the basket, trying to attack their weakness, which is also, it's always going to be that they're going to be a man down. So we try and attack the basket. We're trying to get a lot of dump offs on this. So things are really good and interesting drill. Again, this can be run at any level. The players love this. You're getting 10 players involved. The games are over quite quickly as well. So you can rotate the players who starts the drill, so the people on the 1v2 can be quite tired by the time at the end of it. So they can be the 5 or they could be the 4-man coming in later on in the next drill. Again, and you can use subs in this. If you have 13, 14 players, again, you can have teams of 6 on one side, teams of 7 on the other side, and someone can just sit out the next drill, or you can get shots up on the side. So that's a lot of work that we do in sort of transition. Again, something that people would point out maybe about this, it's simple. It's straightforward, it's to the point, but we emphasize, the willpower and to do this, to do this, at 100% all of the time. So you could say, oh, it's hard to get my players to do this, but there's competition within all of this. The 11-man drill, there's a competition. The first player to get to 10 doesn't have to do a shuttle run or whatever you choose, doesn't have to do whatever. The Michigan State drill, it's a team drill then as well. All the guys are working together trying to get to 13 in a minute. Then the progression drill, again, it's a game. Players are playing up and down, and they're really, really happy with that, and that's what you want from them. So that's what we do, transition offense, quite a lot. A couple of clips here to show you. This one here is obviously off a, where did that go? It's off a dribble rebound. So you can see here, catch, dribble, rebound, and we go. and we're straight down the floor. The ball's down the middle. We're looking to penetrate. The help comes in, and we get a wide open 3-pointer from that. So something I emphasize all year. Obviously the ball comes to our point guard, which is lucky in the way. He's a really good rebounder. But if that came to a Neil Lynch or Dan Heaney or Stefan Sezovic, who's on the floor at the time, I would be ultimately encouraging them to do the exact same thing, is to push the floor. So the rebound is, you can see that Neil and Dan are on the wings, and Neil runs to the corner, Dan runs to the wing, and then that creates that opportunity for the score. This is another transition look. This is a really good one. And I think we steal the baseline pass here. And is what Dan Heaney does in this position is he feeds the ball to the point guard who is already on the run. Dan could have stole that ball and run himself, but he obviously noticed that the point guard is on full steam and he attacks. So we'll get this going. So catches it, immediately sees that he's on the run, and we don't get anything quick from this, but we get really good ball reversal. We're in our spots, in our slot and wings, and we get a really good score from that. I'm quite aware as well that we have two guys here running the same line. Something I'll point out is what we do quite a lot with Stefan. Anyone that knows Stefan Sezovic, really, really strong inside. And what one of his biggest strengths is sealing. So is what he's looking to do here is try and seal. When he realizes that that's not going to happen because we've got our big man who's running to the rim, and he immediately then extends himself out to the space that he knows it's going to be there. Dan Heaney here that I'm pointing at, he could have ran into that space, but he was aware that he was going to come out, and he was aware that the ball could get trapped in this corner, and then he's ready to help. So he comes up, we're in our spots, and we're ready to shoot that. Just where did that go? Just want to go back to that. So just here. So we're kind of just caught, so the ball is ready to be released. So Dan is in that spot, and he realizes that if he pops out here, he just needs to step up into the slot position to give the basket, to give the pass, and we have a shot. On this situation as well, Stefan's wide open, makes the right decision to shoot. He also had a really good chance here to catch, rip through, and attack the basket. He was probably guaranteed to get the 2 points against a smaller guard. Here was inside. So that's what we're looking to do quite a lot. So moving on, small-sided games. Really important, I think, in any level of basketball. We run a hell of a lot of 3v3, so the FIBA 3v3. Really, really important. Guys get a lot of touches in this. I think there's a lot of reps. Really good for conditioning, really good for defense, really good for working on whatever facet of the game you're really wanting the guys to work on. So you could say, look, I want you to begin in the slot, elbow and wing, or I want you to, just to free ride it, whatever you want to do. So you can work on whatever sort of facet of the game you really, really want to work on. Another drill that we work on, I'm going to speak about a good bit, is our 4v4 communication drill. It's brilliant. I love it. I think I found it in the summertime. I'm going to put it up here now. I found it in the summertime just on Twitter, as all our coaches do. We aimlessly scroll through looking for things that might suit us. And I found this, and it was brilliant. This is the only video I could find online. I tried to YouTube. Maybe someone out there has a better video than this. So the way it works is it's 4v4. You put out 8 cones. So you have 2 cones in the baseline on either side, 2 cones in the slot positions. And so what happens is it's same rules as a 3v3 game, but we're playing 4v4. So the defense gets the ball. And he must go around the first cone. Or sorry, the offensive player goes around the first cone. Defense must go around the second cone, always trailing. So what that does straight away is that promotes communication from the defense. So the defense then must stop the penetration. The person who's trailing then must try and filter into the defense and communicate where he is going or she is going. It also then promotes a lot of touches. Players get to play a lot of attacking the rim, a lot of kickouts. And the players love this drill. It's really, really go, go, go. and we keep going through that. So as you can see, it's a really good, interesting drill. I would recommend everyone running this. Is we use this plain and simply for reasons being is when our offenses break down, we're ready to play. So just a few points on that. So it encourages continuous communication. Players are all in communication the whole time. Hustle defense, something that we're really good at this year is hustle into spots, try and figure out my man is beat, I've got to get there. How do I do that? How do I communicate it? It promotes a lot of closeouts, so the ball is kicked out a lot. So obviously we don't allow open shots, so we want to close out really, really well. And then on the offensive side of things, it promotes penetration, promotes kickouts, and then really good quick decision making. So this is a really good drill to use to promote decision making within your teams. So I think that's why we were a lot better this season as well with decisions that, when our offenses or schemes broke down. Like I said, players get a lot of touches, and that's the most important thing, I think, in practice, that players have the ball in their hands in game-like situations, that they're ready to score, they're ready to make a good decision. Players are involved in the game more, and players ultimately enjoy the drill. They get something from it. They're playing a game, and it's really, really important that. Then again, like I said before, players adapt to whenever a scheme or whenever an offense breaks down, that we know that we can just play and we can just attack the rim, find an open guy, and we know that our teammates are going to be in certain positions, whether it's them wings, slots, or it's going to be in the baselines. Yeah, so moving on, competition and practice. I think it's really, really important that any scrimmage that you run is 100% game-like. And this year is really tough. I think a lot of the time I took the brunt of the hate or the brunt of the shouting from my players. I was the referee, so I would referee the game. I'd throw the ball up, the ball goes out of bounds, I'd make sure the ball is checked. It's not like I don't like. It's not like, I'm not saying I don't like it in scrimmages. But I used to scrimmage years ago when the ball goes out of bounds and someone runs and gets it and inbounds it really, really fast and they score a layup. And he goes, that's not game like. It's not specific to what you're trying to do. So I think that's really important. I call the fouls. I challenge the players' reactions. If a player reacts in any sort of way, I'm giving them a technical foul and I'm giving the team an extra shot at the free throw line. I make my players shoot free throws in the scrimmages. So again, it's game like, we get a lot more boxing out. We work on our box out schemes as well, what we want to do in specific games. Practice, competition, it needs to be there the whole way through your practice, whether it's in a 1v1 situation. We use 1v1 situations a lot in warm-ups. The players like it. It's always good fun, good banter. Someone might fall over, someone might get dunked on. It promotes fun, promotes happy, smiling faces. Everyone wants to play, everyone wants to practice in the competition style. Then obviously we spoke about our 3v3, 4v4. We have a lot of competitions going on there. Players don't want to lose, so players want to play to win. So that's really, really important that you give them as many opportunities within your practice to do that. And then ultimately we play a lot of 5v5 in our practices. So obviously we're trying to be as much game-like as possible. Pretty much finish off. We're just going to have a look at it, is what we do in our offensive looks, what I like and what I like to do. I like a lot of horn sets, whether that's screens off the horns or feeding the horn spot. I love dribble handoff. I think there is so many options you can get from just a dribble handoff. It's incredible. I love that type of offense. It's really, really difficult to defend. Everything we do is either 4 out or 5 out. Rarely ever have 2 in, unless it's a very specific reason. We don't have offenses that we would call that would have a 2 in, unless it was something we would notice out of a timeout. We'd run something. I'll show a video on that later. Everything we do, it's all about spacing. If the spacing isn't correct, I'm not running it. I don't like it. I'm not going to use it. I'm not going to try it, to be honest, if it doesn't suit you as a coach. So I would say if anyone doesn't like something, I wouldn't use it unless you're comfortable with it, because you're the one that's going to be delivering this to your squad, and you need to have full trust on what you're doing to the players, because if you don't trust it, the players aren't going to trust it. You know, if you come in and goes, oh, look, guys, I want to try this and see what it looks like, the players aren't going to buy into it straight away. You know what I mean? If you come in and yell about a play that you have and you love it and you know it's going to work, that's good. And that's what I'm going to do. Making the right read and deciding. All right, so this is making the right read. I can't even remember what I'm. This is based around spacing and all of that there. When you introduce a new offense, is what you get a lot of really intelligent basketball players at a high level, especially in Superleague, National Leagues, under 20s, under 18, 17s. You get a lot of players who like to cheat the plays. And this is a big pet peeve of mine. So it's really important that when you're teaching the new offenses, new plays, new schemes, that you really make the defense understand what you're looking for to get out of this. So you must be teaching the offense and teaching the defense that I need you to hedge and you must hedge, even if you decide you want to switch, because you know the switch is a better decision based on that offensive set. So I think that's making the right read and deciding is what I'm trying to get across on that. Other things that we look to do is in our post action. So when we feed the post, our general rule is screen the elbow, and you look to flash middle or you look to pop out. And that's, you know, it's a really good action. You know, it adds to your post play. It just adds extra options to you. A few clips that we're going to look at offensively basically is what, you know, made us really, really good this year was how we made really good quick decisions on offense and how we read the defense quickly. So this is a horns action. There's a drop in the coverage here. So I think eventually, I think it's Tralee that they try and ice the side of this, and we find a nice easy shot. It's open, and then, like I said to my players, if you're in rhythm and you're imbalanced, you take the shot. So we see here, the Tralee defender, the big drops, and we find the open shot, and it's simple. It's in the back of the net straight away there. Again, our spacing is really, really good here. You know, we've got corners filled, both sides. You know, both our players are outside the 3-point line, spacing, and we shoot. Next one we'll show is our, I think it's a fist offense. It's a really quick hitter here. So what we get is we notice the switch happens really, really quick. The ball's reversed, and we find the post action, and it's a quick finish. The ball's reversed, we find the switch, feed the post inside, quick move, and we get that. You notice this as well, that Hillary feeds the post, and he immediately remembers what the rule is. He looks to go feed the screen, notices that the shot's been made, and he goes then to try and attack the offensive rebound. So again, if your players are alert and they're used to, you know, following the rules, following the little schemes that you've put in place, they can still play whatever way they want and still get really good results out of it. It's simple, it's effective. You know, the ball could have been reversed to the other side, but the switch was there, and we found a smaller man on our big, and we just chose to punish that. So we can stop it here. As you can see, I think this is Marco's coming up to that spot, so he could have been, you know, up here a little bit more for a better angle to run this handoff to Stefan, but the right decision was made here to feed it inside, and we got that score. Next offense, this is one of our elbow actions. I think this is not something we ran too often, so it came out of a timeout that we were certain that we were going to get either a Stefan on an elbow shot where he's brilliant, or we were going to get Paris, the point guard, or Neil Lynch open on a dribble handoff. We were going to get something on a two-man game on the other side. So this elbow action starts, good spacing into the elbow. We looked to set a screen, we didn't. We flashed it, it was a handoff, it's a shot. In this offense as well, the plan was from the board, I can remember it really well because it worked out really well. So when Paris came down, he was the flare out to the far side, and Neil Lynch was to pop out, because when Stefan Sezovic receives the ball, if he wasn't open here for his shot, he could pitch it, and then the two-man game was going to happen on this side. Okay, but again, you know, we had good decision here just to pop the ball off. Marco knew that he was going to get the defender with a good screen. Defender runs into him, and then we've got a wide open shot where Stefan is automatic from that range. And a lot of haters will say he's a mid-range, but it's if you're 80% for mid-range, shoot the mid-range. So that's no problem going there. Just a few things just to finish up, I suppose, on moving forward. I think it's, you know, the time that we're in is really important that we grow as players and coaches. You know, this has been really, really good for me. When Nabil asked me to do this, I was kind of nervous. I've never presented anything that I've done before as a physically or digitally like this. So it gave me really, really good time to actually reflect. I think it was really important. Like I reflect a lot on what we do, but this gave me time to really, really focus on what did we do really, really well last season, and what do we learn from it, and what can we do a little bit better, and where's the 1% going to come from, where's the 10% going to come from in certain situations. So I think that's really, really important. Things like, you know, doing this has really helped me hone in on that we done really, really well last season. I'm really happy with it, you know, but we could have done better, we could have done worse. So if we continue to grow and continue to share information with each other, I think that's how we're all going to become better. I like to develop new and better habits. I'd like my players to develop new and better habits. It's coming at that stage in the season where if the leagues were still going, we'd probably still be in holiday mode. Everyone would be sitting and, oh, I don't want to talk about basketball for another few weeks. No, leave it alone. So it's the right time now to set new and better habits for players, for coaches. So we could set new goals for each other, whether it's what you want to do for a preseason, what you want to do, planning going into the season. I think is what's got me the most in this time off is the support. I think that other people have been giving each other the challenges. Players have been setting each other online. It's been great, and a lot of really good stuff online for players to follow and challenge each other. And that's been great. You know, I think that's been really, really important. Just going forwards, I just think as long as everyone is healthy and everyone's looking after each other, I think we're going to get through this. As I had stay at home on the slides, pretty much just trying to promote that. You know, there's no way that we're going to get through all this if we don't listen to the instructions, follow the rules, treat it as a game. You know, it's a long game. We're probably only in the second quarter right now, which is tough because we all want to be in the fourth quarter and getting ready to get back on the floor. So yeah, just thanks very much for tuning in, everyone. Just I've contact details there. That's my email. Anyone wants to shoot me any questions, I'm totally cool with it. Twitter is the same. Anyone that has me on WhatsApp or whatever, I'm totally game. But use let me know on that. So yeah, so that's me finished. Thanks very much for the opportunity, Nabil. So if anyone has any questions.
Excellent, Darren. Just before you go, I guess we'll open it up for some questions. Hopefully we've got a couple coming in. While we wait for the guys to ask some questions, if they have any, my question for you then is, obviously you're doing a great job with the National League Super League team now. Is there a certain skill set or attributes that you think the younger players in Eanna should have or should be developing so that when their time comes, they'll be ready to step in?
Yeah, I suppose if they're anything like LeBron James, that'd be great. But ultimately, like I think it was touching upon what Stephen was saying as well. The Super League is in Super League, National League, under 20s. It's incredibly physical. The strength a player needs now, especially being a young player, is incredible. It's different to what it was when I sort of played back in the day and the other guys played. You know, you really need that physical aspect about you. So you really need to be ready to be bounced about. You need to really have a really good mental strength in your head that you're not ready now, but you need this time to develop. You know, and we're going to put you in there. Like I've had players in a couple of seasons, under 17 players coming up and training with us. Some of them stayed with us all season. Some of them just, you know, mentally they weren't ready for it. And, you know, rightly so, we decided let's step away from this. And that was partly my decision, their decision, that we would come and say, look, let's work on this part of your aspects to be better, to be more ready in this, to come through. But obviously as well, being athletic helps. Anything you can do to make yourself, you know, more athletic, more willing to be. It's difficult to call. You know, we all like good players. What makes a good player? You know, are they athletic? Can they shoot? Can they make good decisions? that's all going to come. If you're a young player, you're going to make tons and tons of mistakes, and that's totally fine. Any coach should be giving you that. Should be giving you that. How would you say, like, that time, that understanding that it's okay to make mistakes. Totally fine. I'm totally fine with Neil Lynch making mistakes. I'm totally fine with Hillary making mistakes, who have played for so long. You know what I mean? Because I understand they're learning. I'm learning. You know, there's no one that's not going to make mistakes. So I think it's really important for young players to try and, do something that's important to them, whether it's I'm rambling on here a little bit, but it's kind of more like I want players to make mistakes, because they're never going to learn if they don't make mistakes. They need to be involved in situations where they can, whether that's in tough practices or it's in game situations. That's where they're going to learn the most.
Gotcha. And just to add on that, it makes sense what you're saying. It just reminds me of a research paper that I read a little while ago, where you talked about a sweet spot of learning, where players should be successful about 65% of the time. If they're only successful for less than that, they get demotivated. They're not, and if they always 100% successful, then it's too easy. Then they become bored. So, yeah, for sure, I think making mistakes and just trying to balance it out, which is kind of tying into
It's
what
very
you're saying.
important. I think as well, like being successful as well, like it depends what a player treats what is successful. I would say that you've turned up to a practice, you've given 110%, and that's success straight away. You may have missed all your shots, you may have run to the wrong spots, but you've tried, and I've seen it in your face that you are trying to learn, you're trying to get better, you're trying to apply yourself, you're staring at me as a player, because I'm coach, I'm speaking about something, I'm trying to, fix something within the offense. I would like my young players to be literally following me around and going, what is he saying next? Because that's what I used to do, and that's what I learned the most. The coach spoke, I was like glued. What is he saying? I want to listen to her, him, her. What information has he got that can make me that little bit better?
Awesome.
I think that's what we find a lot.
Yeah.
That going forward is going to be important for young people.
We've got a question coming up here. Having watched Eanna play all season, your guys' Super League team are a very high basketball IQ team. So the question is, do you as a coach make adjustments with your college team who maybe aren't as high IQ?
Yeah, that's a good point. So, like, for me, I run offenses or run schemes or run my philosophy the same way pretty much with every team. So going back to my under 13s, I was saying that I coached a couple of years, good few years ago now. We run the same stuff in their training sessions to what we run in our Super League training sessions. It's all about trying to give the players the right opportunity to make their decisions. So they're the high EQ players because they're on the floor. You know what I mean? They're making the decisions. It's the same with a college team that I have. Some of them players obviously aren't as high level as the Super League players, but they're still making the same decisions. You know what I mean? They're driving, they're kicking, they're driving and finishing. They're sprinting to corners, and they're ready to shoot. They're making all the right decisions, and that's totally fine. And I think it's important for players to realize that you could be playing on a college team or an under 20s team, and you're trying to make a Super League or a National League or whatever you're trying to better yourself at. Just do the right thing the whole time, and you're going to get noticed. You're going to be seen. You're going to be asked to play. Up eventually. It just might not happen next week. It might not happen the next month. It's going to happen if you apply yourself the right way the whole time.
Gotcha. Which makes sense. Perfect. Listen, we really appreciate your time. We are going to wrap it up.
Cool.
Just for everybody listening in, if you do have any more questions, you can just tweet them to ourselves at Rend Sports, and we'll be sure to include Darren's answer when we get it out to you guys. A couple other things. If you missed yesterday's clinic or you want to catch it up again, it's up on our website at the moment. Our link is rendsportsacademy.com. You should be able to follow it up there. Tomorrow evening, we're joined by Coach Mike Toolan, Liffey Celtics under 17 coach, Athlone basketball youth coach. He'll be talking about building team culture. We're also joined all the way over from Canada by Coach Ashley Cookson. He's the GB under 20 assistant coach for the women's program, and he'll be talking about skill development from a holistic point of view. Just another quick recap in terms of what we do. At Rend Sports, we're just trying to facilitate athlete and coach development. So if you guys have any questions about anything you're interested in as a coach, just shoot us an email, rendsportsacademy@gmail.com. Go to our website. You're sure to find resources, and just get in touch. We would love to contact with anybody and discuss basketball all day. Darren, really appreciate your time. Have a good evening. We'll catch
Excellent.
up.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks.
Cheerio, guys.